Humans abandon diplomacy. The Galactic Council spirals into chaos. The empty seat. The chamber of the Galactic Council had never been silent, not in over 3,000 cycles. It was a place of argument, of ambition, of lies dressed in diplomacy. Every species of power across the stars sent their delegates to sit at the crescent table that wrapped around the glowing core of the Hall of Concord. But today, a single seat sat empty. And it was the human seat. Grand Arbiter Solari of the Threxian Combine leaned forward, his tendrils twitching nervously. "This is unprecedented," he whispered, though the chamber amplified every word. "No prior notice. No envoy. Not even a protest. The Terran Union has gone dark." The Varnathi diplomat, swathed in bio-silk and arrogance, slammed a three-fingered hand on the table. "Humans do not get to simply leave. Their duties are bound by the concord of sentience. Their absence is a breach of galactic order." From the shadows at the edge of the chamber, a quiet voice responded. It was High-Speakered Vale of the Luminari, a species older than most stars. "You misunderstand. This is not abandonment of duty. This is withdrawal of trust." Murmurs broke out across the hall. A dozen languages hissed and crackled in argument. Then came the flicker. The center of the hall, normally projecting the diplomatic crest of the active species, now blazed red. The symbol of Earth, once proudly displayed in silver and cobalt, had faded into static. "Pull up the last diplomatic transmission from the Terran Union," Solari barked. A technician complied. A grainy recording bloomed into view. The figure on screen was unmistakable, Ambassador Elena Park, Earth's representative. Her uniform was torn, her eyes sunken. Behind her, Earth's orbital station blazed in ruins. "This message is my last," she said. "Earth will no longer beg for justice from a council that watched our cities burn and offered only condolences. When our trade convoys were raided, you filed reports. When our diplomats were assassinated, you offered silence. And when our children died on colonies invaded by rogue actors, you debated definitions." She paused. Her breath trembled. "You wanted us to be quiet, obedient, civilized. But humanity is none of those things when it buries its young. We are withdrawing from diplomacy. Effective immediately." The screen cut to black. Total silence. No one spoke for a full 10 seconds. Then the panic began. The Seraphii envoy demanded emergency arbitration. The Zarn threatened sanctions. The Eltari accused humanity of preparing for war. But behind the noise, behind the rituals of bureaucracy, there was one thought echoing in every mind. What happens when humanity stops talking and starts acting? Because across known space, Earth's silence had already begun to scream. Within hours, Terran embassies were abandoned. Their trade fleets vanished. No replies came from the great orbital archives. The Terran AI Chorus, once the galaxy's most advanced, cooperative system, had gone offline. And somewhere, far beyond the reach of Council sensors, a massive signal pulsed across the stars. Terra Primus, Autonomy Protocol initiated. For the first time in centuries, the Galactic Council feared extinction. And they knew one truth above all. You can insult humanity, you can exploit them, but once they leave the room, they never come back the same. The quiet reckoning. They thought the silence meant hesitation. They were wrong. It began with whispers. Outposts near the dead expanse reported the sudden appearance of black ships, no known signatures, no transponder codes. They didn't fire. They didn't hail. They simply arrived, hovered in orbit, and left. But those who scanned them, those who dared, detected gravitational readings consistent with weapons capable of destabilizing moons. The Council dismissed the sightings. Unverified. Possibly smuggler fleets, they claimed. Then the Corvan Accord fell. The Corvan, staunch allies of the Council, famous for their crystal fortresses, reported a brief skirmish with unknown aggressors. 30 minutes later, every orbital installation they owned had gone offline. Surveillance drones showed images of controlled, targeted strikes, non-lethal but absolute. Not a single life was lost. But their entire military infrastructure had been rendered obsolete. And etched onto the shattered hulls of their command ships was a single phrase in Terran Latin. Non loci. Agira. We do not speak. We act. Panic spread like wildfire through the Galactic Council. Emergency summits were called. Old rivals were suddenly best friends. Species who had mocked Earth's primitive sentimentality were now calling them the greatest strategic minds of the age. But no calls were answered. No messages returned. The humans were gone, and yet everywhere. They were restructuring colonies at the edge of the galaxy, deploying terraforming systems that hadn't been publicly unveiled. They were upgrading orbital defenses not to Council standards, but far beyond them. Old allies of Earth, long ignored by the Council, suddenly found themselves protected by fleets of AI-assisted drones and cloaked human vessels. The message was clear. You didn't want us in your Council, so we're building our own. And what terrified the Galactic Council most was that they couldn't stop it. High Arbiter Solari sat slumped in his chamber, watching feeds of unrest across dozens of systems. Protests had erupted from the outer rings to the core sectors. Species once loyal to the Council questioned its relevance. Why had Earth left? What did they know that others didn't? Was war coming? Solari turned to his advisor. How did we miscalculate so badly? The advisor, a cybernetic ethery, responded coldly. Because you thought humans needed you, when in fact, you needed them. In a hidden chamber deep beneath the Himalayas, far from prying galactic eyes, the leaders of the Terran Union gathered around a holomap. Admiral Reyes folded her arms. They'll come begging for talks. Ambassador Park, miraculously alive and recovered, nodded slowly. And we will listen. General Ikeda raised a brow. Then rejoin the Council. Park's smile was colder than space. No. We listen, and then we build better. The Council is broken. Let them spiral. Let them feel the weight of absence. Around them, Earth's most brilliant minds laid the foundation for something new. Not an empire, not a dictatorship, but a united system where humanity set the rules. Back in the Council, silence had returned, but it was a fearful silence. And across the stars, children asked the question adults dared not answer. What happens now that the humans have stopped playing by the rules? The stars themselves seemed to whisper. Now, the reckoning begins.